We've been telling you, you have to chase opportunity around the world. If you're not getting the kind of returns you want in the U.S. or in Europe, perhaps you should look beyond these borders. Perhaps you might find some opportunity, particularly in Latin America. Joining me here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange is Armando Senra. He's the head of Latin America and the Iberia region for BlackRock. Armando, welcome down here.
Thank you, Margaret.
To the floor
Good to
of
be
the
here.
exchange. How much interest are you seeing right now in terms of going into some of the South American markets, Central American markets and beyond?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we see a lot of interest from investors. Latin America has gone a long way from the days that it used to be considered a risky asset. It's part of anyone's portfolio at the moment. And both from a business perspective and an investor's perspective, it's a key market to consider. If you look at investors over the last 10 years, they had over 500% cumulative return on the equity markets. If you look from a business perspective, our business has been growing over 20% in the region over the last few years.
And BlackRock has about $90 billion invested in the region?
Invested, yeah. And we manage over $45 billion for clients in the region.
So when you're talking about putting money to work there, are you just talking about equities? Or what opportunities are you finding?
No, I mean, look, there's opportunities. Obviously, the equity markets have been more popular. Brazil is the key market. As you know, we have the largest market. We've been overweighted Brazil. We continue to believe the growth story in Brazil is all about domestic consumption. So that's the other key point. Latin America is not any longer a story of commodities or exports. It's really about domestic consumption. And that's the story that we see all across the region in the key markets. Brazil, we're overweight. We also are looking closely at Mexico. Mexico is the second largest market. We have elections coming up, so we really have to look at what happens during that. For instance, if there were to be reform of the energy sector, that would open up a lot of opportunities for investors.
But that's been a long time coming.
That's right.
Reform of the energy sector in Mexico. But what's interesting to me is that you like banks in Latin America. There's a lot of apprehension about regulation in the U.S. and Europe. Why is it wide open for you in South America?
Look, and that's, for instance, if you look at Brazilian banks, you're looking at banks that have strong balance sheets. They don't have the problems of some of the financial sector in the U.S. or in Europe. You have domestic consumption that is growing. You have still credit expansion that needs, it's a long way from what it is in other markets.
And yet that's interesting because I've had individuals come on and talk about the credit crunch in Europe impacting Brazil in particular because of Portuguese lenders and their footprint there.
Right. Yeah, but it really, the overall impact, when you look at those banks in Brazil, is minimal. And when you look at the exposures that they have, the debt ratios that they have is really a minimal impact. So when you look at the growth in the economy, when you look at the consumption, domestic consumption, then you see a lot of potential for, I mean, look, mortgages. That's just an instrument that is just becoming attractive to both clients and banks in the region. So it's a really different story than when you look at European banks or American banks.
So there is some fear of new government measures there in Brazil under this government. Is there a headline risk that we should be aware of? Regulatory
nothing
risk?
that we are too concerned about right now.
So when you are investing this $90 billion, it's primarily in equities. Are you also putting money to work in some of the currencies?
We would like to, I mean, I think that there's two stories there. We would love to buy more fixed income as well, but for that we need to see some of the fixed income markets to develop. So, for instance, corporate debt markets in Brazil. We really would like to be more active in the corporate debt markets, but for that we need more depth in those markets.
You mean more issuance?
Yes, and that goes with regulatory reform. But we would like to be really active in those markets. When you look at investors in Europe or in the US looking for yield, they can really get attractive yields in Latin America, in Brazil, among other markets.
So let's talk about some of the less developed but developing markets there. You like Colombia?
Yes, both from an investor's perspective and an economic perspective. It's a country that has enjoyed economic growth, stability. It's a great place to do business. We're opening a Colombia office sometime around the second half of this year. So it's a market that we really like. The only problem with Colombia, Chile, Peru, if you look at our equity investments, we are underweight. And we're underweight not because we don't like the market, but because there's not enough stocks to buy.
Well, how much money that you're investing is coming from people within the region? Because you hear so many stories about people from South America, certain countries in particular, Venezuela, I'm thinking of, taking their money out and putting it in real estate here in the US and elsewhere.
You really have to separate. So when we look at the markets, you're looking at the major economies. So you're looking at Brazil, you're looking at Mexico, Chile, Peru, and Colombia. So we're really underweight in many of the other markets. So when you look at local investors, they have been buying the local markets for a very long time. We have about 45 billion in the region invested from local clients, domestic clients, both institutional clients and retail clients. So we don't really see money going out of the region. Again, you're talking about Venezuela. Those are different examples, but those are not the markets we're focusing on as investors or from developing the business.
So the majority of your investors are from where?
You're looking, Mexico is our flagship office. Then you're looking at Chile, where we've been doing business with the pension plans for a very long time. Peru and Colombia are next.
A lot of excitement about the Chilean pension plan, like beyond. People started talking about the Chilean model with Herman Cain when he was running for president. But I'm serious, with the pension funds in particular opening up there seems to be a lot of opportunity in both.
Well, they have been opening for a long time. So if you look at our business, we've been doing business with the pension plans in Chile for a very long time. Not only that, but as opposed to other pension plans in Brazil, let's say, they have been investing abroad for a very long time. So that's a market that we really like. We have a big office in Chile, covering Chile, Peru, and Colombia, and we continue to expand our business beyond the pension plans.
All right, Armando, it's good talking to you.
Great being here.